Hello and welcome to Affinity. In a previous video we looked at a way of doing a selection in something that's fairly tricky. So for example, we're just going to go into this shoe here and you can see the low contrast around here. Last time we looked at it with a painting method, now we're going to look at it with a drawing method. So where do we go for the drawing? Well, down here where there's this rectangular marquee, maybe one of the other ones set, but you can also go to the freehand selection tool. That's the one we want. And what we do here is you've got various modes here. You've got to make it new, add, subtract and intersect. And we've got here three different types. The first one is you just literally draw. If you've got a tablet, it's a bit easier, it's a bit more awkward doing it with a mouse. But there I've selected obviously way too much. But then what you do, because you can go to add and subtract here, if I subtract there, I can then start now going in a bit closer. And when you let go of the mouse, by the way, it joins the beginning and the end. So I can just scoop to there, let go, and I've drawn in there. And I just get in a bit closer and I'd zoom in and so on. It's a bit awkward to do this. And so it's something that I would use just for tidying up something rather than as a primary method. So what else is there? Well, let's do the magnetic. I can hit Control D to get rid of that. And the way magnetic works is you click once for the beginning and then just move the mouse roughly and it will try to find an edge for you, which is great when there's high contrast, but when it gets low contrast, it kind of isn't sure where to go. So you're going to get something that looks rather odd like that. So I can hit Escape there. We're not going to do that one. By the way, a little trap here, I'd left it on subtract. And if you had on subtract, you wouldn't select anything. Start off with new, always. And now what I'm going to do is the other one, this is the one I'm going to use here. And polygonal is you literally click one at a time like this to put it in. In this, by the way, I'm going to have to start again here, hit Escape for a moment, is you can set feather here. So I can put this down and I can slide up this, so click there and there we go, slide up here. But typically I would only do a few, so I'd actually roll the mouse wheel on this to something like 1, 2, 3, that kind of pixels, just to soften the edge. Anti-aliasing will stop it getting kind of like a jagged pixelated edge, so you might want to put that one on as well. Anyway, so here I click on here, then another click, then another click, and so on. You see, this is a series of straight lines. The problem with straight lines is they're never going to completely do the edge that you want. So you're going to go down as far as you want. And when you get to the end, you double click. And then it fills in for you. But you see, you still got this here. And this, then you're going to go in round making corrections, painting in, painting out, or selecting in and out with this tool. So it's not great, so I'm actually not going to do that one either. So Control D to deselect. And what I am going to do is go to something completely different, which is the pen tool down here. And now I'm going to draw a shape. And shapes have a lot of advantages. So I go down here and I can start to click points here. So I can click a point here, then another point here, and so on. And it's going to try and fill it in. However, here there are several different ones. If you use the pen mode, you're going to get straight lines again, and you're going to get that straight line thing where it's not quite in. So the best one to use here is the smart mode, because then it will, as I draw it here, you can even draw them fairly far apart. See, it's drawing curves. It's actually figuring out where to go. And I can go in a bit closer here, so I can zoom in to curves. As long as it's not a really sharp curve, but it's pretty close. So you might even sort of like look very carefully where this is going. And the sharper the curve, the closer you're going to get. But don't worry if you don't get exactly where you want to go, because when you are finished, you can go in and adjust things and even add new nodes or little points wherever you are. So there we go, here is my curve, but now if I right click the pen tool and go to the node tool, I can go in close here and adjust these, so I can drag this in and out. And every node has got two little things either side of it, so you can use that to twist that and even bring it in and out to make the curve fit exactly where you want it to go. So let's go back out again. So there's my shape, and if I go to somewhere else, say I go to the view tool up there, my shape is still here. So if I go down here to the node tool or the pen tool, you can see that it's still there. So what I need to do is fill it in. So I go click on here and I click on actually any colour at all. So just make it green so I can see it. Then when you've got a shape like this, what if I have the soft edge? That's a fairly hard edge to it. I can soften that. I can actually put a blur on it, or I can go to the layer effects here, click on here, go to the Gaussian blur here and click on it so it's blue as well, so I got the adjustment, and then I can just turn that up a bit here until it's the right amount of softness that I want. And here I see I can see here that I've not quite made that here, so I can always go back to that. And if I click on this one, I've got the node tool selected, click on that one there, I can play with that. I can make sure that it's a smooth curve. This one wasn't a smooth curve. See, that's a square one where I want that to be a little round with a little dot in the middle. So I click on that and that will turn that to a smooth one. And then I can move things about to get them exactly fitting. Now let's come out again and say, how can we use this? What I can do now is use this as a mask. Shapes you can use as masks. For the moment I'm just going to put that down the bottom so it's out the way, so we can see what we're doing here. And on the background I'm going to put in something like adjustments and say put a brightness and contrast, and we'll just turn up the brightness of this. But thinking just the shoe, so I want to constrain this just to that shoe, so I drag the curve up onto the icon of that, and now it's appearing just in here. Now then, what about doing the rest of this here? Well, we can do this as well with other shapes. This starts to get a little trickier, so I'm not going to go into detail about it, but by and large what you can do is things like if you go to the Shapes tool here and get a crescent tool, you can draw a crescent here, you can rotate it, you could do this using shapes like this, you can make this bigger. Those little red dots you can push about to make it fit, and you can see here it's like, well, it's not quite fitting, but you can just play with this until it actually is kind of good enough, and then use that as a separate thing. You can even go to the edge of this until see the cursor, there's two little up and down arrows, and I can put a bit of sort of like sideways perspective on this to make this fit here. So I'll only do this roughly. But then, if you're going to use this as a mask, you want to be able to do this with perhaps a gradient on it. So you can go to the gradient tool, you can draw gradients in shapes. So I can go like along here, but when I'm using this as a mask, it's going to be transparent. So I take the bit I want to be transparent, and I just simply can go to the colours here, or I can do it up here, and just turn the opacity down. And that will now act as a mask for this one. So if I'm going to do something else in there, maybe I'm going to do a different one on that, so I can actually, because I don't want to treat the shadow the same as this, and so I will put in let's put in something like, I'll just do another brightness and contrast on that, but a separate one now. Put this in as a mask on that. So now I can turn the brightness up of the shadow just a little bit here. Notice here I've got a kind of hard edge on this, but don't worry about that. I can still also go in and blur that. I can go to that shape there, the crescent. I can go into the FX here, go down to the Gaussian blur and turn up the edge of this. So let's see where that was, that effect that was having there. So there I had a hard edge, but now as I turn that up, I'm softening that edge there. So you can do all these things as well with shapes as well as with the pen tool. Anyway, that's enough for now, and thank you very much for watching.